Alright, hey, Jeff here. So, just want to show a couple of things that I recently got in and ask another question of you all. I'm glad for the responses in the last question I had. You know, it's just some things I'm thinking about, and I figured I'd share and see if what your point of views are. But first off, let's just jump into a couple of the recent buys that I had. I don't know, this caught me off guard. Didn't really expect this. It popped up as a suggestion on Spotify, and I gave it a quick listen and said, oh, I really like that, and I went on and looked and found out that it was on vinyl, and that's the one and only release from the Squares. Oh, I should have covered that. I didn't cover that. Anyway, if you hadn't heard of this, this is Joe Satriani's Lost album. So back before he was known to the world and before he was a guitar genius that he is, and with all the releases he's got and the instrumental stuff that he does, this was a band that he was in, the Squares, or Squares I guess in general. And yeah, it's fun stuff. I mean, it obviously would have been out, I didn't check the exact release of this, but obviously decades ago. Vocal band, you know, fun. They've got all kinds of styles all over, just kind of pop rock, fun stuff, just all over the place in various styles, but all still, you know, along the same fun stuff that same style. But you know, you should check it out if you haven't. It is on Spotify. That's just a pipe sticker. Got all these nice classic pictures of them when they were youngins there. And so yeah, so this was pulled out and they put it out on vinyl and CD, and I really dig it. Good stuff. And it wasn't too expensive, so I went ahead and grabbed that. Now, this came in, whoops, toilet paper. Send Dizzy. He's Not Dead. Things are so shiny in the plastic. Yep, still shiny with the light. Anyway, it came with this card signed by Osfox and Bobby, Johnny B. Now, if you're not familiar with Send Dizzy, so back in the 90s, I guess, you know, Stryper was not active. And Robert Sweet and Tim Gaines of Stryper
here started playing in this band with these two other fellas there. And anyway, they released a bunch of demo type stuff. I say they're more self-released, but they're, you know, they're not high studio stuff, but they're better than demo stuff. And it was compiled onto a CD that they released, which I have the original version of the CD. And then 10 years later, the 10th anniversary edition came out. 2008, Girder Music put out a version, slightly, I guess it was remastered or just re-released, repackaged, and put out. And now, 11 more years later, 2019, they went ahead and put it on vinyl. It's really cool. It's on this nice cool green. And like I say, it did come with this, it's like a square photo, and it is autographed there by Oz, and nice little sticker. So we're seeing a lot of stickers here, but and it's got Osfox singing, so you know, it sounds good. I mean, it's obviously not Stryper, but it's got his guitar tone and guitar sound. Sounds really good. And you know, got it in, threw it on. Sounds great on vinyl. Just loving it. So yeah, check it out. It's one of those limited releases. It's not the limited run vinyl, but you know, it is pretty limited. Yeah. Anyway, Girder Music released it. I was gonna say it was their first vinyl, but no. Greg from Girder was talking in a video the other day, and I guess the Betrayal is the first vinyl. So haven't got that yet. They got it in, and I'm assuming has been in the mail to me, and it is on its way. Now this band, so real quick story. So Scott Waters showed a picture of the album. I don't know where he got it from. I think he might have shown it in a video. Showed it on Facebook, you know, blah blah blah, thrash band. I don't know what it was that appealed. It was just a cool looking cover. I don't know. So I went online, tracked down a place that I could hear it online, and they're old school thrash. It reminds, you know, that 80s style of thrash. Just, I was like, now this is the kind of thrash I like. And I commented on his picture, hey, this is cool stuff. I'm gonna have to track down a copy of this. I don't know if I ever did look into actually buying it. I had it online. checked it out a little bit, and then kind of let it go. And then for some reason, just recently, so then was it last month? We went to Busch Gardens. We're close to a Busch Gardens here. We went to the Busch Gardens, and we were standing in line, walking, zigzagging through the lines for one of the rides, and passed a guy that had this band shirt on. And I thought, that's really odd that this band that I heard about, that small, nobody known band that had just recently been, brought out a CD and a vinyl release, and here's this guy in line with their shirt on. I kind of gave him the nod, like, hey, cool shirt. I kind of wanted to stop him and say, hey, where'd you get that? How'd you hear about that? Or, whatever. So then the other day, for some reason, I pulled out the digital tracks that I had seen and listened to it again. I thought, I really dig this. I think I want to check out a little further and see, maybe acquire that vinyl. So I looked them up, and lo and behold, did not realize that this band was just like an hour up the road. They're from Richmond, Virginia, not too far away, which would explain why this guy in Williamsburg, Virginia, where we were at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg is like 30 minutes from Richmond. This guy in Williamsburg would have had a shirt, because he's obviously, I didn't even know that they were local. I just thought they were some band out there. Anyway, so that was kind of neat, and makes more sense now why he had that shirt. So I looked them up online, went to their Bandcamp site, and they were, almost hit the button and was getting ready to buy the vinyl. And then I said, well, wait a minute, hold on. So I went and looked up their label and found that the records on the website for the label were pretty, I don't know, like $5 cheaper. And they had a second release that had just come out, I guess, earlier this year. So I went ahead and picked both of those up. Anyway, so the band I'm talking about, okay, before I go further, so when I was going to go pick them up, I went back and looked, and I'm like, what was it that Scott had shown about that? And I went back and found the original post he did, which I swear was like months ago. And it was 3 years ago that I commented on that. I said, wow, this is really cool stuff or something. 2016, I could not believe. How could it have been 3 years? And so anyway, I grabbed it. The band is called Bat, and they are an old school thrash band. Wings of Chains. I don't know. I thought that was kind of a interesting. It's got Bat with wings of chains. And that light is really getting in there. Anyway, I just was intrigued by the weird cover, and then, like I said, I checked it out and really enjoyed it. It came out in a couple different colors, bone white. I got the clear, and then it was on black. The bone white and the clear, of course, were more limited, and they only had a few of these colored ones. So I thought, that's cool. I don't have many that are like really clear like that, so I grabbed that. The second one, which was the more recent one, is called Ecstasy, and it also was on color, and this one was either black or bone white, so I got that. Both of these are EPs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, one of which is an instrumental, and the other one, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, that's not right. It's an EP. Where am I? Oh, take that back. Okay. That is a full album. I don't know what I was thinking. I have listened to that quite a few. This one's just an EP. Anyway, so went ahead and grabbed both of them. And then wouldn't you know it, I literally got those in the mail like middle of the week. And just like day before yesterday, like 2 days later, 3 days later after I received them, I get an email from the label. Oh, records on sale, buy 5 for $60, $12 a piece. So when you know both of those are in that list. I am thinking maybe, well, I was thinking maybe I'd write the label and say, hey, look, I just ordered these. Can I have these two? I mean, I didn't pay much more than that, but still $3 or $4 a piece more. Anyway, I was thinking about writing them and saying, hey, if I buy 3 more albums, can I have those other 2 count, blah, 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 get the sale. I looked through all the ones that they had for that sale, though, and there's really only one other record in there that I knew that I would buy. So I'm like, I guess I'll let it go. And if I buy that record alone, I think it was like $20 without the sale. And it was an album and a single. But anyway, I don't know. Haven't decided on that. So that brings me to the question I want to ask, and I'd like all of your inputs, and please comment below. I'm just curious how other people think. Sometimes you can kind of pick it up when you watch videos enough. You kind of pick up the habits of some people, but let me know, chime in. Question is, what kind of a collector are you? When it comes to music, mainly vinyl, because I say mainly vinyl because vinyl does tend to be a little more pricey, so it takes more of a commitment than some other things. But let's stick with vinyl, I guess. So when it comes to buying vinyl, what kind of a collector are you? So here, from what I can tell that I think I'm the type that will just buy anything that appeals to me. For the most part, it has to do with price. If I'm out flipping through the thrift stores, I'm going to take a chance. You're talking $1 or $2 for a record, and it may be something that I don't know if slightly familiar with. I'm going to buy it just to check it out, because it's not like you're wasting much. If I'm out buying it at a place where they're $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, under $10, a little more of an investment. I may be a little more picky, but still, if it's something that from my childhood, from my teen days, something in the realm of the music I like, chances are I'm going to be leaning towards buying it. I may pass it over only because I bought other things and I just don't have enough money that day. When it comes to investing in some of the reissues, where you're paying full price, over $20, what is it that, then I'm starting to really have to ask myself, do I need this? Question of need versus want. I know that that's a big thing. Some people just say, yeah, you need it because you want it. But in being kind of frugal and being kind of responsible, you kind of start making those decisions, and that's where it's becoming harder to figure out, what kind of a collector am I? This kind of comes up because I was talking to another friend in a conversation the other day, and mentioned some of the recent ones that I had purchased, for under 15, under 10 in some cases, that I showed in previous videos. I said, wow, sometimes you get really good deals. And he made a comment along the lines of, well, for me, I wouldn't have bought any of those because none of those are going to get a lot of play. And so they would just end up taking space. And I try not to buy stuff that I'm not going to really listen to, because space is a premium. And you don't want to waste a lot of space with all of these things. And it made me start thinking, is there such a thing as buying things that you're going to use a lot versus putting behind things that you may just want in your collection? Some people just buy and their collection expands. And I think that's kind of the mentality I've been going by. Just buy, let it expand, and if need be, sell off some as needed. So the tough thing is, when do you draw the line? When do you make the decision to, I don't really need that? Because then there's a mentality of, well, I'm a completist, so I need to have every album by Motley Crue. So, and I do. So, except for, the really hard ones to find. But you start buying, I start buying based on, well, I've got 2 or 3 of their other albums and I want to have all their albums. And that's tough, especially when you get back into vinyl this many years later and there's so many bands that you've listened to for the past 30, 40 years. You're like, this is going to be a daunting task to go back and get 30 plus years of releases. So it's a slow process, and I've determined to not make it something where for this particular band I want to have all this stuff, so I'm going to go get it now. It's kind of like I'm going to leave it up to just what I stumble upon. I'm not going to go out and buy online and try to fill in my collection for these type of things. If I stumble upon it, I stumble upon it. I have all this stuff on CD. Do I really have to have it on vinyl? And then there's people like the person I was talking to, well, not really like him, but some people only buy high-end, really quality presses. They're not going to go out and buy a cheaper stuff. They're going to go and buy these, nice, either original presses or, just high-end stuff. And they'll pass up things that are not high-end enough for them. Are you that type of person where you only invest in certain things? Or maybe they only buy bands of a certain style. I'm not going to go out and buy vinyl. I love all kinds of music, but I'm only going to buy vinyl in this genre of music because I've got the other stuff on CD. So in other words, you're looking at investing based on, a certain type. I'm not going to invest in all kinds of rock and roll. I'm going to stick with this type of rock or this type of jazz or this type of, classical or whatever. There's a certain thing. Anyway, I'm just curious. What is it you use as a deciding factor on what you do buy? Do you, some people have collections that would fill this room. So obviously they're a little more open to just buying a lot and a lot of stuff. But when you really think about it, it does take up a lot of space. How often are you really listening to it? And is it worth having just on your collection? So that's another part of it. Do you just want to have it because it feels good to be in your collection, or do you want to have it because you are going to physically use it and listen to it? I feel like I've got more in my collection now, and I don't have that many records compared to a lot of you all, but I have a lot of stuff in my collection now that I bought on a whim. Hey, it's a couple dollars. It looked pretty good. I may have to go through and clean out 40 or 50 albums that maybe I probably, in hindsight now, realize I'm not going to really ever spend much time listening to, and free up some space and free up some cash to maybe get something I will. So I don't know. I'm trying to reevaluate. But what are your thoughts? What do you think, and how do you think, and what do you apply as a means of deciding whether to buy this or to not buy that? Is it strictly, I found it, I ran across it, I've got the money, I'm going to buy it, or do you say, I'd like to have that, but I could take this money and go buy something I really want, spend a little extra money on something I really want? I'm just curious. What do you think? How do you all think? Because I feel like sometimes I don't think. And a lot of times I know with Amazon, it's kind of like, oh, look, here's something that dropped to below $15, like my, which is my gauge. And I buy it, and I'm like, had to stop and sit back sometimes and step back and say, yeah, but do I really have to have that? The White Snake one I bought in the last video, I thought, do I really have to have it? But it was a great price. And I thought, yeah, that's one of those bands where I may eventually want to have all of their stuff. And I already have a couple. So, it was worth it. But some other ones, maybe not so much. Do I really have to have that? Is that going to be a one-off purchase? Anyway, I'm rambling. Tell me what your thoughts are. I'm just curious. What do you do? How do you think? And what makes you put the money down on that vinyl? Thanks for watching. Rock on.